welcome to mayowasworld. Hi y'all, my name is Mayowa. Tomorrow is my birthday. If you're new to my channel on this day, I talk about a lot of things like anti-blackness, texturism, freeform locks. I don't talk about that as much anymore, but I have a lot of videos about it in the prior. I talk about vaginal health sometimes, but I've been making YouTube videos since 2016. And I feel like YouTube is such a great platform for me to like show my growth and show my thought processes and stuff like that. And tomorrow I'm going to be 30. So if you want to send me some 30-year-old money, if you want to send me some gifts, if you want to send me some love or sharing my videos or liking or subscribing, I would really appreciate all of the above, because yeah, it was really important for me to like do something for my YouTube community, because y'all have been rocking with me and YouTube is such a fun platform for me. I actually genuinely like doing YouTube videos, and I like how y'all treat me for the most part, except for when I get the hate. But the people who really be subscribing and sending me love, I actually really love how y'all interact with me. So I want to make a video celebrating me together with y'all. But I wanted to talk about the 5 lessons that I learned in my 20s, so that it's kind of like a door closed for a new chapter. But I wanted to say, because I thought, I don't know, I just thought I would love to like see this video in like a year or 2 or maybe 10 years, something like that, and like look back and like smile. So, okay, the first lesson that I learned in my 20s, the first lesson I learned to look back in my 20s is like, I deserve to be comfortable. The amount of discomfort I felt in my 20s is wild. Like from the shoes, to the clothes, to the hair, to the people I was dating, the places I was, uncomfortable. Not one thing was feeling good on my body. Like, I feel like I always thought, because of how femininity is really pushed on to AFAB people, I feel like I thought femininity was uncomfortability. And I feel like because I was dark skinned, I tried even more to kind of show I was like hyper femme, which put me in like mad toxic and terrible situations. You know, I just feel like I've just worn so many shoes that hurt my fucking feet, and it wasn't until I was like 27 that I realized I was wearing shoes that don't fit me because I wanted to have smaller feet, because I thought having smaller feet was more attractive for men. Ooh, embarrassing, but I did it. And like, I feel like after I kind of had those moments of being like, I want to wear comfortable shoes, I don't want to wear a fucking bra. I don't want to wear a fucking bra, okay? I don't want to wear a bra. It's uncomfortable. I don't feel good. It does not feel nice. Like, it's not a good feeling for me. And I feel like if y'all saw me in my early 20s, I was wearing a bra to sleep. Like, I was always wearing a bra. I was always shaving. I didn't want to, even if it hurt, I was still shaving my vaginal area, my armpits, trying to be so. And it's just like, for who? For what? For people who don't wash their ass? Like, why am I doing all this suffering? Why? I didn't come to this life to suffer. I came to this life to have fun, to be comfortable, to live good. So the thing I learned is like, I'm not gonna be this uncomfortable no more. I'm living, we are feeling good in our body. Like, my comfort matters, okay? Second lesson I learned in my 20s was I was gay. Yeah, that was a big lesson I had learned. That was a big lesson. I didn't even see it coming, for real, for real. Like, I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't see it coming, because I feel like, you know, with all these, there's so much unlearning I had to do. So much unlearning I had to do, and so much kind of like deeper thinking I had to do. And that's why I really like respect all the parts of myself I've had to be, because I've never felt like I was living a lie. I feel like my issue was I just was not allowing myself to reflect on what it is that I wanted. Like, I really thought my goal on earth was to make people feel comfortable and to make people feel happy. And that's like, once again, it's all this ingrained thought within patriarchy, within anti-blackness, that made me feel like I needed to center someone else's pleasure. So how I had found out I was gay was like, I just really was reading All About Love by Bell Hooks. Like, really, like, All About Love by Bell Hooks is a book that like made me lock my hair, and also made me realize I was gay, because I just kind of had to step back and be like, yo, what does your pleasure like? What do you actually like? Who do you actually like? What are the traits that you like in someone? And I feel like I the traits I thought I liked in men was, I think, just not healthy for me, and it constantly made me feel like unhealthy, and I felt like I was battling myself and wanting to talk a lot about my feelings and feeling like that was just not being received. And then when I stepped into who I was and lived in my truth, in the sense where I was just being very honest and showing my growth along the way, you know, I've had a very public, you all could see me when I was identifying as straight, and then you could see me now. And I feel like if you see those videos back then, I look a lot more uncomfortable. And I think now, I feel like you could probably see that I'm really radiating as myself. So that was a lesson I had learned. I would have saved a lot of time, money, and, you know, I would have had a lot more fun if I had realized it earlier. But there's no timing. The timing is always divine, which is actually my third lesson I was gonna say, was I had learned that my timing is always like divine for real. Because I remember like feeling like, oh my goodness, you know, when I graduated college, I was like, there's so many things I could do. I don't know which thing I want to do. Like, how do I know if I'm making the right or wrong decision? Like, I spent so much time worrying, like, what am I making the right decision, da 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 da. And I feel like I realized that if you always like try to value your voice, even if it doesn't make sense, because one thing about me is like, even though I might not have I had a lot of unlearning to do, I always really valued my voice eventually. Like, in the sense where I knew I've always known I wanted to make YouTube videos from like young, but I was like, I didn't have friends around me that encouraged me to be doing it. I told some people, they was like, why would you want to do that? And then it, you know, makes you coward more. And then you start to realize that the people that you have in your life are telling you that ain't really your friends, and you're worried about what people are going to think about you, blah, 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 blah. So I feel like when I started to actually like listen to my voice, things just started to like expand. And when I what else was I gonna say? Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I'm jumping, but I also kind of was insecure about like what city I ever lived in, because I felt like, oh, I had to either be in New York or LA, New York and LA. And I grew up in Atlanta, and I remember just always kind of feeling like, oh, I'm so embarrassed I'm from here. Like, the city is not, like, growing up, like, the city was not as poppin' as like how people look at New York or LA now. New York or LA, but I realized it's not about where you are. Like, and to be completely honest with y'all, the most bad bitches, the most radical people actually come from cities and towns that no one gives a fuck about. Those, if you want to see someone that's just just really ready to risk it all, like real ride or die, it's always people who come from these like weird random ass cities. And I realized it's not about the city, because where you're meant to be, it will be. Like, there's a lot of trajectories that I did in my life that ended up getting me here. Like, I studied landscape architecture, and even though I feel like that profession, it was kind of like a profession that I did, or like a degree that I did that kind of worked for my brain, because like I'm dyslexic, so I knew reading a lot wasn't gonna be like helpful for me. So I'm very creative, I'm very good at drawing. I did that, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll be a landscape architect. But like, my heart was never really in it, and I felt very influenced by my family, my parents, and so I thought I was going to do it. And then I just made a strong exit. I just was like, fuck it, I'm moving to Europe. I want to model. And all through the steps I've done, I was able to really kind of get back to my center and just realize that like I tried so hard to be everybody else but myself, and that was the timing that I had to go. I had to go through all of this web to return back to my center. And like, a lot of things I do now is to return even more, to like think about my inner child, to think about things that I liked when I was younger that really helped me. Another thing, like another lesson, this is like 3A of a lesson I learned in my 20s, is like, go to therapy. Go to therapy. That's the game changer. Like, really. Like, I started therapy at 27. In 2017, yeah. And oh my God, like, I feel like I was navigating the world through, I kept seeing the same kinds of people and kept being in the same kinds of dynamics. I felt like I was always being leached off of, and I didn't know why, and I always had a lot of guilt. And it wasn't until I went to therapy that I really kind of saw how toxic being a people pleaser is for myself, and how that did not give me anything. And how to like actually center my voice and see what it is that I want, and think about, once again, like that question of, is like, what is it that I want? What is it that makes me happy? What are the things that I enjoy what gives me pleasure, and like asking myself that, plus going to therapy where someone is, you know, building me up and helping me listen to my voice, helping me hone in and believe in my voice and unpacking like that. Also, the girls wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for who I became with therapy. Like therapy really just helped me, and like I really like my therapist, who's a Black queer woman, but dark skin as well. Sorry. Okay, the next point I had learned was anti-Blackness takes a lifetime of work to unlearn. Oh my God, like I had really learned that I love Blackness, I love Black culture, I love studying Black culture, but society really hates Black people. And there's so much unlearning from the education you're taught, the people you're taught to desire, what you're taught to like, who you're taught to center, what you're taught to say, all that stuff, how you come off. I had to unlearn so much, and I don't think I had realized it. And it's interesting because with my trajectory in life, I feel like I never really aimed. Like if someone showed me an image of who I was today, I was never really aiming for that, because I think I was really just I was chasing like outside validation. And I was never really into like the discourse. I was never a discourse girl kind of person. But I think I really appreciate the people I've had in my community that have helped me kind of show how beautiful Blackness is. You know, when I started to reflect on the people in my life who have done such beautiful things to me, it's Black people, and that's something that I'm very impassioned about, is loving on Blackness. And when that comes with just a lot of like, you know, and that's also what made me realize I wanted to freeform my hair, was because I just got to a point where I was like, I live in a society that teaches me to hate myself every day. And people always be like, oh, self-love, self-love, self-love. Self-love does not, self-love, like everyone's amount of how much they have to love themselves is relative to like where they stand on like intersectionality, right? Like as a dark-skinned Black person, like you're taught that you are shit all the time, and like there's loads of messaging to like remind you of that. So of course it's gonna be harder for me to like find validation. And I started to learn that community is what matters, seeing myself is what matters, hearing my voices. And I was always very impassioned about talking about the things I talk about now. Like I've always thought about colorism even since I was really, really young. But I kind of thought, oh, I just kind of thought, oh, nobody even gives a fuck. Nobody agrees with me. And it wasn't until I started to put my thoughts out there that I saw that people have agree with me, and agree with me even more. And I feel like yeah, from like locking to my hair to like how I start to dress to like even the fact that I live in Nigeria now, like these are all things that was very much so influenced by my desire to unlearn anti-Blackness and my genuine love for Black people. And like that's who I'm always going to be writing for. And dark-skinned non-men is like just, yeah, like the experiences we have is something that I really learned in my 20s, that it doesn't matter how successful you try to get, it is not worth being an exception in a system that is built to destroy you. Isn't really like doing what you think it's doing. It's not really like liberatory for, because I want liberation for everybody, not just for one individual who's able to get out. So that was something I learned in my 20s. And the last thing I learned in my 20s is that my sensitivity is my greatest attribute. I really was like, no, my sensitivity, sorry. Last thing I learned in my 20s is that my sensitivity is my greatest attribute, and to not live your life for people who, do not live your life for others. Because I used to feel so insecure that I was like so sensitive, and I would be like, oh my God, like I really hate this part about myself. Like I wish I could just like toughen up. But the fact that I feel so much is like really what's able to have me connect to people. And it's really about like having your sensitivity and also having really strong boundaries. Like you can't be, you know what I'm saying? You can't be, it's like a coconut. You know, coconut has all that water on the inside, but it also has a hard ass fucking shell. And like, you just can't break that shell. That shell is like, you gotta smash it into pieces if you wanna have the water. That was deep. But you know what I'm saying? Like you can't just be sensitive without boundaries. So that's what has to happen. And I also realized that for a lot of people, they are freaked out by sensitive people. They're freaked out by having to realize that they can't interact, that they have to interact with somebody with caution. They're freaked out by the idea that you can't just talk to somebody any willy-nilly type of way. You have to be intentional with how you speak. And being a sensitive person made me also be more cognizant of the power of my words and the power of my actions, because I know how that shit resonates for myself, so I know it hits other people. And I didn't realize how many other sensitive people there are in the world. And when you are living in that honest truth of sensitivity, you find your tribe. And another thing that I had learned on the flip side is like, don't live your life for other people, because they will not live their lives for you. Like, I tried so hard to like be good for my family, for my parents. It's like, but when I was being good for myself, like I was willing to change for like my parents, to change for people that were in my life and being unhealthy to me. But those people aren't willing to change for myself. So like, I'm not gonna keep molding myself to fit into a type of love that is not reciprocal. Like, it's really important to just like, once again, I think when you're able to center your pleasure and see what it is that you like and find your politics and allow yourself to feel the emotions you feel the anger, feel the sensitivity, feel the fear, and allow yourself to like experience all those emotions fully, it helps you show up better. And it also kind of reminds you of your own voice and trusting your intuition, because one thing about my intuition, baby, is my intuition is on point all the time. And that's some shit I really learned in my 20s. Like, my intuition is never wrong. I might want it to be wrong, because sometimes you don't even want to hear what your intuition really has to say to you. Sometimes you're like, really? That's what you feel? To your intuition. And you just have to listen. And if you don't listen, your intuition will not keep coming back. So I feel like that's something I really learned in my 20s. Yeah. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the next chapter of my 30s brings, and like what lessons I learn and how I feel looking back. But I'm happy with the decisions that I've made to be here. I'm happy with the honesty that I've chose for myself, to always speak in my truth, even if it's not liked, because it also shows me there are other people who are doing the same. And once again, I just always talk about the power of community and feeling loved, even though you may not have that many people physically around you. I'm just really appreciative for the digital community that has been showing up for me since day one. So thank you everyone for the love. And if you made it this far, tell me, what is your favorite fruit that's like hard on the outside and soft on the inside? Because that's me. Or animal, because Cancer season. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.